Deer are often seen as peaceful, graceful animals, quietly grazing on the edge of forests and fields. They are a common sight in backyards, parks, and along roadsides throughout the United States. For many, spotting a deer feels like a brief moment of calm in a fast-moving world. But behind this serene image lies a much more complicated ecological story unfolding in America's woodlands. Across numerous U.S. states, deer populations have grown so large that they are reshaping entire forests. This overabundance of deer is not just a rural concern, it's a growing environmental crisis with deep roots. In the early 20th century, many deer species were on the brink of disappearance due to unregulated hunting. Conservation efforts reversed that trend, bringing back white-tailed deer and mule deer in remarkable numbers. States imposed hunting limits, created wildlife refuges, and banned certain practices to allow populations to recover. Those efforts were successful, perhaps too successful in some places, resulting in ecological imbalances decades later. Today, some forests in the eastern and midwestern U.S. are suffering from what's called deer overbrowsing. This occurs when deer consume so much plant life that forest regeneration simply can't keep up. Young saplings, wildflowers, and understory shrubs are eaten down faster than they can grow. This loss of vegetation affects more than just the plant life itself. It ripples through entire ecosystems. When tree seedlings are devoured year after year, mature trees eventually die without any natural replacements. Forests then age out, and with no younger trees rising, they begin to degrade over time. The diversity of native flora also plummets as deer prefer to eat specific plants over others. That preference allows invasive species, which deer ignore, to take over the understory without resistance. And as the native vegetation disappears, so do the insects, birds, and mammals that depend on it. In places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Ohio, researchers have documented sharp drops in biodiversity linked to deer. Even forest songbirds are disappearing in areas where deer have removed the dense cover they need for nesting. Some experts refer to these areas as ecological ghost towns, places where the trees stand, but the life is gone. The balance that once existed between plant life and herbivores has been lost, and recovery is not simple. Natural predators like wolves and mountain lions once kept deer populations in check across North America. But these predators were hunted out of many regions long ago, and their absence is now deeply felt. With top-down pressure gone, deer populations grow according to food availability, not ecological balance. Humans are now the only remaining predator of deer in many areas, primarily through regulated hunting. Yet in suburban and urban-adjacent environments, hunting is often restricted or completely prohibited. This has allowed deer populations to flourish in neighborhoods where gardens and lawns provide easy food. These suburban deer also retreat into wooded patches during the day, contributing to overbrowsing in local forests. In places like New Jersey and Connecticut, overpopulation has reached crisis levels in many protected forest zones. Local governments are trying to address the issue with a mix of strategies, but results vary widely. Some regions have implemented sterilization programs, fencing, or selective culling through special permits. But these solutions are expensive, controversial, and difficult to scale up to address the root of the problem. Meanwhile, public lands and parks continue to see their ecological value degrade due to chronic deer pressure. In Indiana and Illinois, foresters are witnessing a disturbing collapse in oak tree regeneration. Oaks are a cornerstone species in many forests, supporting wildlife with acorns and providing durable timber. Without saplings, the future of oak-dominated forests becomes uncertain, threatening both nature and human industries. Maples, beeches, and other hardwoods are also struggling to reproduce in regions with dense deer populations. In Vermont and upstate New York, climate change is compounding the issue by stressing tree growth further. Warmer winters and erratic seasons make seedlings more vulnerable, and deer capitalize on this fragility. Even in southern states like Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia, overbrowsing is undermining native plant communities. Reforestation projects are failing because young trees cannot survive in landscapes crawling with hungry deer. Pine plantations designed for lumber and wildlife management are also being decimated by aggressive feeding habits. As deer move further into human territory, they cause more car accidents, crop damage, and public health risks. Lyme disease, for instance, is linked to deer tick populations, which thrive in areas with dense deer herds. The ecological and economic costs are rising, yet public awareness remains surprisingly low. Many people still view deer as benign woodland creatures and resist efforts to reduce their numbers. Wildlife managers face an uphill battle, convincing communities that population control is necessary for forest survival. The idea of culling deer often sparks emotional reactions, especially when the animals seem harmless or beautiful. But letting deer continue unchecked means allowing entire ecosystems to unravel slowly and silently. The long-term damage to biodiversity could take generations to fix, if it can be fixed at all. Restoring balance will require more than short-term interventions. It demands a shift in public perception and policy. State agencies must collaborate with ecologists, communities, and hunters to develop adaptive management strategies. These strategies should be flexible, science-driven, and responsive to changing forest conditions and deer behavior. Some advocate for reintroducing natural predators in controlled areas to let ecosystems self-regulate once again. Others believe in more access for regulated hunters, especially in areas previously off-limits or restricted. Technology can also help with tools like infrared drones and trail cameras tracking deer densities accurately. Citizen science programs are growing, allowing everyday people to help monitor forest health and deer impacts. From the forest floor to satellite imagery, we can now map ecological degradation more clearly than ever. This data empowers better decisions about fencing, plant restoration, and hunting regulations at the state level. It also helps conservationists decide which forests are at critical tipping points requiring immediate action. The challenge is not to eliminate deer, but to return their role in the ecosystem to a balanced one. Healthy forests and healthy deer populations can coexist, but not if the current imbalance continues unchecked. Forests need time to recover, space to regenerate, and protection from constant browsing pressure. And deer, for their part, need food sources that don't come at the expense of biodiversity. In the end, what's at stake is more than just trees, it's the future of entire ecosystems. It's the chorus of songbirds, the buzz of pollinators, the clean air, and the shaded trails we all enjoy. Without intervention, we may lose much of that, replaced by silent, aging woodlands, no longer teeming with life. The path forward requires commitment, collaboration, and a willingness to rethink our relationship with these animals. The story of deer in America is one of both incredible success and unintended consequences. It reminds us that conservation is never finished. It evolves, and sometimes it must correct itself. We must now rise to that challenge if we want forests that are still living, vibrant, and whole. And that means making the hard decisions today, so that the wild can thrive tomorrow.